Sorry.
Hello and welcome to this video recording that we have for admitted students to UFT Engineering. Congratulations on your offer. Today we're going to talk a little bit more about the minors and certificates and sort of how you can customize your engineering degree a little bit more and add a little bit more of your personality perhaps into your degree. I'm joined today by two very informed panelists, Professor Brian Carney and Sharon Brown. Perhaps you could all introduce yourself and your roles within the cross-disciplinary programs office a little bit. So Professor, want to start?
Sure. So my name is Brian Carney, as was said. I'm a professor in civil engineering. My own specialties are really in water and energy related systems. I've been doing this minors development for quite a while now. I've been doing this for really about 12 years. I was supposed to be finished now, but with COVID, I've continued. I will be continuing through this year. I love this job. It's a fantastic opportunity to do some really cool things, and we'll tell you a bit more about that in the next few minutes.
Thank you, Brian. Sharon?
I'm Sharon Brown. I'm the Assistant Director of the Cross-Disciplinary Programs Office, and I've been working with Professor Carney here for quite some time now, well over a decade now. And myself and Donna Lee, who is our program assistant, are sort of the student-facing end of the Cross-Disciplinary Programs Office, and are here to help you navigate anything related to minor and certificate programs for engineering students.
Amazing, thank you. So I think most students have an idea of this terminology of majors and specialists and minors in a general university context. Would you mind sort of talking a little bit more about what are minors and certificates in the UFT engineering context? Since our program structure is sort of fairly, well, most of the courses for a first year student, for example, are all determined for them. Where does minors and certificates fit in, Professor?
Terrific. Yeah, happy to answer that question. Engineering is, of course, dealing with such a broad range of issues that cover the use of technology in human affairs. It's been sort of roughly classified into these major areas that you're familiar with: civil engineering, mechanical engineering, and chemical engineering, electrical engineering. Those are hugely broad areas. And within those areas, there is an opportunity to specialize to a certain extent or take a concentration in particular areas. But there's a huge number of areas that cut across disciplinary boundaries. They are areas that deal with a wide range of subjects that you might be interested in regardless of what your major department is. Engineering business minor would be a classic example. That engineering exists because there's a demand for its services, and so there's a business associated with it. And we just thought students should be better informed. So the real goal of the minors is not to make your life more complicated, but really to nudge you to think very seriously and conscientiously about what other things you want to be known for other than being an electrical engineer or a chemical engineer. So these give you an additional designation or additional credential on your resume or on your transcript, so that you can declare to a potential employer or to potentially a graduate program that you have a special interest and indeed special preparation in a different area. And so these areas are quite broad, and we've had a lot of fun creating them, and the students have generally responded very positively to them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I remember last year when we hosted this similar webinar, it was one of our highest subscribed webinar sessions. So absolutely, I think there's a lot of interest from students on how they can add a bit more into their degree, do a little bit more with their 4 years or 5 years with us here at UFT Engineering. You talked a little bit about this already, but sort of what is the value of enrolling formally in a minor or a certificate? Is it required? Can students take, just electives on the side? What's the added value of grouping them together into an actual minor program?
Well, I mean, what you come to a university for fundamentally, of course, is to be educated, is to be nudged towards taking the world seriously and understanding it. And really, I think one of the things that was going through our minds when we first started creating these credentials these new opportunities for you, is really to help students make very much more informed choices of their electives. Within all the programs, there's some elective choices. And I was hearing too many conversations, frankly, where students were choosing their electives to be the easiest or the easiest to schedule, or ones that simply really bypass the goal, which is to be educated. So when we created the minors, we sort of said, why don't you create a cluster of interest so that in fact you have something to show for it, and you can show an employer, you can show a potential graduate student program that you truly have an interest in the area. But more than that, I think people excel in what they are very interested in. So this is really a chance to create something that hopefully just satisfies you and your interests in the first instance, so that you can pursue your own interests of something that you really care about and want to learn about. I find if you're studying something that you really love, it's no longer work. You don't need a lot of discipline. You simply go with the flow. You simply learn it. I'm amazed when I talk to people in almost any walk of life. If it's an area of particular love for them, they know a lot about it. And really, the minors are a chance to choose those things about which you just want to learn more for your own sake. And there may be a spin-off that other people care too, in which case you've got a very clear, understood way of communicating that love.
You talked a little bit about this already, but I do talk to students who have that passion for a topic, have that interest in pursuing something that perhaps is a little bit more diverse than their existing program, but they're worried about perhaps the workload of doing courses outside of their core program. What would you advise sort of students that are worried about their academics? Are these courses extra courses that they're taking, or are they already part of their curriculum anyways?
In the first instance, each program has enough elective choices that you can fit in a minor, or probably two minors, or a minor certificate without really any extra load at all. It's simply by choosing your courses intelligently. And so that doesn't imply that you have to do a lot of extra work. Now, because of the way we're constrained by accreditation, because of the way programs unfold, there are some combinations of majors and minors which might require you to take a little bit of an additional work. But again, my own feeling is, if you're doing something that you genuinely love, and I would strongly recommend you choose your minor certificates on the basis of an intrinsic interest, and not try to game the job market. I mean, do something that you really want to be employed by in the long span of your career. Do something that you really want to learn about, and then the work will be inconsequential. Again, I think if you love what you do, it doesn't take discipline anymore. It doesn't take hard work to do it. You just can't wait to do it. And ideally, that's what should be choosing for your minors and certificates, something that that generates its own interest and its own passion.
I love listening to you talk about minors every time. Every time I'm so inspired.
Thanks, Aaron.
Why don't we dive a little bit deeper into the 21 minors and certificates we offer within engineering, and the countless minors that we are able to offer students access to from the Faculty of Arts and Science next door as well. In your experience, sort of what are some of the more popular minors, for example? And then maybe we can talk a little bit more about some of these popular minors as well. Sharon or Professor Carney?
I think Sharon can do a great job with this one. So Sharon, over to you.
Sure thing. In terms of the most popular of the engineering minors, by far, it's the engineering business minor. It's a great complement, as Professor Carney already pointed out, to our engineering skill sets that you're getting through your engineering discipline as it is. And it fits really well with the majority of the programs. And, if a minor isn't of interest, is a little too much of a focus for you, you can always back off and just do a certificate. So a certificate is about half of a minor. It tends to be 3 courses. A minor tends to be 6 courses. There's that flexibility there. In terms of fitting the programs in. The other popular area in engineering, I would say, would be our robotics and mechatronics minor and our AI minor. And AI certificate as well. Again, you can have a deeper focus in the minor, or you can back off and just have the smaller focus of the certificate. So it lends itself really well to that. Arts and science minors are a little harder to fit in. They take more courses than engineering minors, but they are possible. We have a lot of students who are really keen to do something like a mathematics minor or a physics minor. Those are really challenging to fit in because we do restrict the overlap between your engineering degree and the arts and science minor. But say something like a French studies minor, or English, history, economics, things like that. Those are popular topics. They work well. They add a really distinct a distinction to your degree that you wouldn't get from just your engineering studies. And it's a great way, again, to focus your elective spaces all in one area and get a really different credential for it.
Erin, one question that you asked that I was negligent, didn't answer, and it's worthwhile emphasizing, is that no one has to do a minor or a certificate. You can graduate, you can complete all your requirements to be a successful and professional engineer without doing a minor and certificate. Minor and certificates don't change the core of your program. They simply allow you to do something where you have a special interest. But there's no requirement, there's no taint. You can still get honors, you can still get scholarships if you don't do them. There are certain financial opportunities for scholarships and other things that are possible through the minors. But they're not required. They're an added value extra. And frankly, we're very excited about them because they really give the breadth and depth of our minors, I think, give a very special flavor to U of T. We have a very broad suite of additional things you can take out of your interests and passions.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things I talk to the most with students, is realizing that the size of the university really is a benefit to your academic studies because of its expertise in so many different areas. I think on the point of whether a student completes a minor, correct me if I'm wrong, sort of around 40% of students do in fact complete sort of a minor in their as part of their degree.
Yeah, a number complete more than one, sometimes two or three. And so if you sum up the total number of minors and certificates, it's actually more than 50% of the total number of students graduating, but it's about 40%. Interesting enough, that's about the number we estimated that it would be at the beginning when we first started this adventure of creating these things. Sharon probably has the more up-to-date statistics, but it's been great fun.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I mean, on a side for my own interest even, do you talk to students ever who decide that they actually aren't interested in doing in a minor or certificate? Do you know sort of what their reasoning might be for that?
Sharon, you want to jump into that one?
Sure. I mean, I think there certainly are students who, are very, I guess, who make a conscious decision not to do a minor, and it may just be that they have a wide range of interests within the technical electives within their program, and that's fine too. I mean, you can get a little bit of experience here, there, the different courses. So it's it's not mandatory, not required. Does provide you with a focus if you wish for your electives, but if you want to take a more broad approach to those choices as well, that's equally valid.
Yeah, that's great to know, because I think I do occasionally talk to students who have this notion that perhaps doing PEY or capstone would sort of preclude them from taking a minor, which is absolutely not the case.
No, absolutely not. Yeah.
Sharon, you talked to,
one of the other reasons that a person might not finish, of course, is that their interests evolve. So they partly finish one and then move on to something else. And again, that's not a problem in the slightest. Interest should evolve. In fact, one of the big things that I think our office stands for as well is lifelong learning. The idea that learning is not completed when you finish. These things are intended to launch a career, not to end it.
Mm-hmm.
Sharon, you talked about, I think, engineering business, artificial intelligence, some of definitely the most popular minors that we even get questions about. Another minor that I often get questions about is the biomedical engineering option.
Mhm.
I think students have questions perhaps of what program they have to be to enroll in a biomedical engineering option. Do they need a background in high school in order to sign up for this minor? Do you have perhaps a few points on the biomed minor?
Right, sure. Well, relating to the idea of, do I have to have taken high school biology in order to pursue this minor? It helps, but it's not essential. The foundational course for this minor is our engineering biology course that students usually take in their third year. And from what I've been told, about 1/3 or so of the class each year are students who have had no biology in their high school years. They may well have a personal interest in it. Maybe they've picked up a little bit along the way, and that's obviously going to help them in terms of managing the course. But definitely, there's no, we don't go back and look at high school credits to see whether you've got biology in the first place. So that the biomedical engineering minor is a very focused subset of the intersection of sort of medical applications of engineering technology. So you start off with the engineering biology, you get into physiological control systems, you get into biomedical investigative technologies, and then you get into sort of an application of those through the capstone, biomedical capstone or biomedical thesis related options that gives you a full year experience in those areas. And the capstone is has been a really fantastic course in terms of getting that interdisciplinary content there. The students are often working with clients out at the hospitals. Our engineering's position right so close to Hospital Row in Toronto gives it really great access to some of these facilities. And in addition to so many of the engineering disciplines participating in that capstone course, there are also usually about 1/3 arts and science students from health sciences programs and the human biology program as well. So you're really getting a blend of various backgrounds working together to creatively solve a problem for a client in the healthcare system. And so that can be a really rewarding experience for the students as well.
If you consider the unbelievable role that technology now plays in modern medicine, it's just so natural that some engineers would take a particular interest in that, is in the areas that Sharon was saying. But I mean, a visit to almost any hospital ward, you're almost going to be overwhelmed with the technologies that are available, and what's taking place now with respect to everything from the use of cell phones to diagnostics at a distance to the role of sensing apparatus to be able to detect and treat diseases. It's a remarkable overlap. But one of the things that we're in the process of trying to create is actually one in public health as well. And again, what engineers do has such a profound influence, whether you're talking about sick buildings or water treatment or air conditioning systems. This COVID thing is got to bring this to the fore in such a huge way. The way we organize spaces and movement and things that engineers have a big role in plays a huge role too. So if the students haven't started university yet, I think there's an extremely good chance that we'll have a public health minor or certificate available for them by the time they're enrolled in second year. Very
That's
exciting
amazing.
developments as well.
Yeah, and absolutely, like Sharon said, drawing on the strengths of the various different experts that we have at U of T in order to pull these courses together. Thank you for sharing that. We talked about sort of popular minors. I think that's always the first question that students go to. Do you have perhaps like a hidden gem or a personal favorite that is a bit more needs students to look into a little bit more? Any recommendations? Sharon, let's start with you.
Well, I think probably Professor Carney and I are both rather partial to our environmental engineering and sustainable energy minors. One of the newest features, if you will, of that is both of those minors have recently been brought into a overall U of T sustainability scholar program. So in addition to getting the recognition for the minor on your transcript, you're also getting a notation of being a U of T sustainability scholar. So, you know, another great incentive there for students to look at these. And both of those minors are ones that are very broad in terms of their courses. So they fit well with most of the engineering disciplines, and the concepts themselves are hugely important for, you know, our world going forward. You know, yes, we're all consumed with COVID right now and with health concerns, but lingering right in the background is, you know, our environmental and energy concerns that are going to be you know, continuing on and are still, you know, a serious concern for us. So those would be my two picks for ones that I think are great for students to be looking at. One other one that I'm particularly fond of is our Global Engineering Certificate, which is not as popular as I would like it to be, but so maybe that's why it's my hidden gem. But there's a lot of really great courses in there to pique students' interest. And again, another one that comes with an overall University of Toronto notation as a U of T global scholar. So that's, you know, great to be part of another bigger picture at U of T, I guess.
We had a talk the other day for our students from the professor that runs the forensics engineering
Yes.
certificate. And that I think students and staff alike were, I think, pretty fascinated and didn't realize how deep the courses went and sort of what exactly that meant. So actually, I think I hope probably you two will agree with me in that students can explore these programs a little bit more and perhaps find something that's a bit of a hidden gem to look into.
Can I add just very briefly to that as well?
Yeah.
You know, the global engineering one is very near to my heart as well, because when I was younger, I really felt that I wanted to do science in a more pure sense, and particularly oceanography. But I happened to spend my final year of high school, about where some of the students are now, in East Africa, living in Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. And I was really struck by how important things like water supply were to people who are spending such a dominant part of their waking existence doing nothing but collecting and gathering water. So the world has become a global place. So that's a huge one. But in conjunction with that, I think both Sharon and I are very excited about the music options as well. If we got anybody in the audience who is interested in the technology of music, then the certificate is available to them, or if they're interested in even performance, if they've got musical talent that they want to showcase. We've had a few concerts that have been done by the participants in our music minor, and they're a real highlight. Amazing the talent that can be drawn into engineering. So the proximity in intellectual space is very near, even on a global sense, or even to something as direct as picking up a violin or playing a keyboard.
Very quickly, I think we should talk about the role that the cross-disciplinary programs office plays in helping our students find and navigate the process of enrolling in a minor, course enrollments. What other supports do you and your team provide students with this process?
Go ahead, Sharon.
Sharon.
All right. Yeah. Well, Donna and I we're here to answer any questions at any time of year. As students are coming into their first year, there really isn't much of a need to get into the finer details. In some cases now, I guess for students who do their first calculus course in the summer coming into their first year, that does actually create an elective space for them during their first year of studies, which is a relatively new thing. And so, you know, if there are students who are looking to try and make that elective an opportunity to start in on a minor, that's great. We can talk to you at any point in time about, you know, how, you know, where it might be a good spot to start. Generally speaking, our minors are structured around sort of second, third, fourth year courses. So there's no great need to jump in to the minor bandwagon, so to speak, in your first year. You know, you can learn a little bit about them as you go. At this time of year, we're often giving information sessions on the particular minors, and because this will become a time going forward in your academic career where you're starting to look at your course selections for second, third, and fourth year. And you know, we're happy to help you take a look at how these programs map out in your curriculum. Your departmental advisors will also talk to you about how these things can fit in and the possibilities for taking courses in the various areas related to the minors.
And I think the office is particularly helpful if you are really keen on an arts and science minor. Sharon's helped a great many students navigate through the discussions with arts and science and the selection of courses and where the obstacles are likely to come. So we do our very best to be available. And I have to say, I've worked with Sharon for more than a decade. She has an amazing ability to meet with students and to help them make some of these calls in terms of what's practical and what's not. I've often challenged people. I don't think I've ever had the challenge taken up. I think Sharon knows the undergraduate program in engineering better than anyone else in University of Toronto. She knows the ins and outs of all the programs and how things fit. And she'll do it with a smile.
Always, always. Thank you.
Well, we definitely appreciate both of you for your continued support of not only our students, but also to attend sort of webinars like these for our future students as well. Any last points before we close up?
Sharon, go ahead.
I don't think there's anything in particular that I missed out on saying, other than I do hope that you'll consider the minors and certificate programs as part of your opportunity here at engineering, and I look forward to communicating with anyone who has any further questions.
And maybe one final comment from me. I love to think about watershed ideas. A watershed in hydrology is a sort of division that separates different areas. And so a raindrop that falls on the west side of the Great Divide will end up with the Pacific. A raindrop that ends up on the east side will end up either in the Arctic or in the Atlantic or Gulf of Mexico. It makes a world of difference, those minor changes. The thing I would always encourage you to think about, whether it's your engineering program or coming to U of T or choosing an elective or taking a minor, is consider constantly not that you have to do it, but that you get to do it. That doing this is an unbelievable opportunity that just opens a world of possibilities for you, and you get to do it. You get to make these choices. You get to make these calls. Sometimes choices are difficult, but having the freedom to make those choices is just the thing that makes life rich, and your choices profoundly important to you. So enjoy your time, enjoy the time. And again, congratulations, as Aaron said, on your opportunity to come here. We hope that you do. And if you do, we hope that you benefit from the minors and certificates and advice that we can give you.
On that perfect conclusion, thank you so much for watching, and we hope to see you on campus soon.
Thank you all. Take care.
Thank you.